The audio doc unit. I'm Enza Uda. Thanks for listening.
This is CBC Radio 1, 990 AM, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg.
Here's to the Bold. The Professional Women's Hockey League is back. Lace up, strap in, and tune in to Hockey Saturdays on CBC, where you can catch the best women's hockey players competing head-to-head with everything they've got. The puck drops Saturdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on CBC, CBC Gem, and cbcsports.ca. Don't miss it.
You know the feeling of finding a really good podcast? Or the feeling of someone always being there, like your favorite radio show? Stream CBC Podcasts, CBC Music, and CBC Radio anytime, anywhere.
This is CBC News. At 12 o'clock, we're at minus 17 with mostly sunny skies over downtown Winnipeg. Good afternoon. I'm Matt Humphrey. U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs are possibly 9 days away, and Canada's effort to prevent and even push back is accelerating. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the premiers are holding a virtual strategy session. BC Premier David Eby is urging Canadians.
He says Canada should be open to a deal.
We will get squashed in any trade war because they are vastly more powerful.
Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
Meanwhile, at this year's Ag Days in Brandon, they're talking about tariffs, along with agricultural technologies. The annual expo started yesterday. Many worry about the potential impact of a 25% tariff on Canadian goods. Almost half of Manitoba's agri-food exports go to America. Shannon Robertson is a grain farmer near Boissevain. She's skeptical and says Canada has to deal with the issues Trump has brought up.
Pushing back on some of our immigration stuff and trying to correct some problems, and I'm hoping it'll all blow over. I'm hoping we're not getting ourselves all worked up for nothing.
Robertson says Manitoba and North Dakota are tied together economically. He hopes any improvements for farmers south of the border will also help farmers in our province. And President Trump says he wants an apology for a prayer delivered this week during his inauguration.
In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now.
That is Bishop Marianne Edgar Buddy pleading with the president to protect immigrants and respect LGBTQ rights. Trump was in the front row during the Tuesday morning service. On social media later, Trump called the bishop's remarks nasty and not compelling or smart. The bishop's sermon was delivered the day after Trump signed executive orders concerning immigration and gender. Emergency Preparedness Minister Harjit Sajjan is the latest Liberal MP to say he will not run for re-election. In his announcement, he said he was proud of his time in government, but warned the increasingly toxic and polarized nature of politics takes a toll on politicians and their families. A 49-year-old man is under arrest, and a 23-year-old man was attacked with a machete during a dispute over rent. Winnipeg police were called to a home along Syracuse Crescent in Waverly West around 8:30 this morning. Investigators say the 23-year-old was getting ready to leave a house when he was confronted by the caretaker about rent payments. The argument escalated, where the suspect armed himself with a machete and attacked the victim. He was able to run away with minor injuries. The suspect has been taken into custody and charged with assault with a weapon. The Trudeau government is giving more than $90 million to cities in Ontario and Saskatchewan to support people without homes. 9 municipalities in Ontario have signed the agreement, along with Regina and Saskatoon. Nathaniel Erskine-Smith is the federal housing minister.
Beyond immediate emergency efforts, housing is the long-term solution. And Canadians should know that our approach must be twofold if we take this human rights crisis seriously.
The cities have all agreed to match the funding being offered by Ottawa. Among other things, the program will create new shelter spaces and services to help people find and keep permanent housing. The Canadian Armed Forces are changing some of their medical standards for new recruits. It says attention deficit, anxiety, asthma, and allergies are the 4 medical conditions it will now be evaluating when people apply, instead of automatically disqualifying the person. The change comes as the military tries to recruit more than 6,000 new soldiers this year. And Rupert Murdoch's newspaper empire is issuing a public apology. It's part of a lawsuit settlement with Prince Harry. The prince sued News Group, accusing 2 Murdoch papers of using illegal means to gather information on him, including phone hacking. David Sherborne is Prince Harry's lawyer.
In a monumental victory today, News UK have admitted that The Sun, the flagship title for Rupert Murdoch's UK media empire, has indeed engaged in illegal practices.
The apology also includes an admission that the media conglomerate intruded into the private life of Harry's mother, the Princess Diana. As well, News Group paid a financial settlement to the prince, but that amount is not being disclosed. Temperatures to -19 this afternoon in Winnipeg with a few clouds. We'll see the wind die down. In Brandon, a mix of sun and cloud, a high of -15. Dauphin, a high of -17 with partly cloudy skies. Flin Flon, sun and clouds, a high of -16. Thompson, a high of -21 and mainly sunny. And on the bay in Churchill, you have a chance of light snow, a high around -18. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Good afternoon, Manitoba. You're listening to Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, and everywhere on the CBC Manitoba YouTube page. I'm Corey Funk. Good to be with you. Well, coming up this hour on the show, the roads are rough out there. Case in point, last Friday's blizzard that raged through southern Manitoba. And today, this morning, not that much better either here on the roads in Winnipeg. But sometimes when you're out driving in these treacherous conditions, a good Samaritan steps up to help. That's what we want you to call in about today. Tell us about those stories, how someone helped you out. Maybe your car was pushed out of a snowbank, or someone helped boost your car, move it, or if it's stalled, call us after 12:30. But this half hour on the show, how a man's trip to return a book in Morden ended in helping fuel up the new Black Hawk helicopter that patrols the border. But up first on the show, it's day 2 of Ag Days in Brandon, and Premier Wab Kinew announced it's opening 2 new Manitoba Agricultural Services Corporation, or MASC, service centers. And here is part of that announcement.
Our team was very proud today to announce that we are opening 2 new MASC service centers. Now, this is reversing a trend that you saw under the previous government, with offices closing one after the other, services leaving small rural communities. We're reversing that trend. We're investing in small town Manitoba. In particular, these 2 new locations, which have been long awaited. There's been a lot of communities across Manitoba, advocating for themselves and asking that we locate in their region. And so we're very proud to say that these 2 new MASC service centers will be in Verdun and in Shoal Lake. Importantly, this is going to help some 1,600 MASC clients. And after these offices open later this summer, 94% of MASC clients will be within a 1-hour drive of a MASC service center, which is a dramatic improvement from the current status quo. So, a lot to do, but an important milestone along the way of investing in the ag industry here in Manitoba, which is the backbone of our economy.
That's Premier Wab Kinew announcing 2 new centers opening in Shoal Lake and Verdun. That's 2 new MASC centers at the Manitoba Agricultural Services Corporation centers. Matthew Atkinson is president of the Manitoba Beef Producers. Hello there.
Good afternoon.
So what's your reaction to opening these 2 new service centers? What difference will it make?
It's a very good thing. It's something that we'd advocated for on behalf of our producers. It's something we got as feedback from our producers out there, and we're really happy that the folks in power listened, and we've seen these reopening.
And you know, for folks who might not know, what services are offered for producers at these service centers?
So the mass service centers kind of have two different levels. There's insurance products that are provided through them, but then there's also a lending system that is really a great advantage, especially to young producers that are looking to get started in the industry.
Why is that? Why is it good, particularly for young producers?
So for the young producers going in there, it's not so much a risk-based lending as published lending, and then there is some young farmer rebates in there that really help those people get the leg up there, because we know that they are a higher risk customer and they're not going to get as advantageous a rate otherwise.
In the days when a lot of government services are moving online, why is it important that, you know, there's these physical offices where you can actually go in person?
Yeah, I mean, we do see a lot move online, but we also see a lot of resistance to it too. And those relationships that we have within the local communities and the knowledge, they are important too. There's a lot of questions. I mean, especially on the insurance files, they're a pretty complicated file. And so to still have somebody to sit down and talk to and have that familiarity with the region is very important.
And I know we were talking a little bit about insurance before, but just in the last couple hours here, the province also announced a new agri-insurance program that offers lower premium rates for crops. What's your reaction to that news?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's really good in the sense that it shows the reactiveness of the program to adjust to lower commodity prices, but it is also unfortunate that we have the lower commodity prices that require that reduction, but it does show that the modeling works and that they were responsive within that and have dropped those prices.
And before I let you go here, I feel like I can't leave without asking probably something that's a lot of people are talking about these days. There's potentially tariffs that might come as soon as February 1st. What could those tariffs from the U.S. as much as 25% mean for Manitoba beef producers if they come?
Yeah, it's certainly a big deal for us. It's something we are monitoring closely. It's something that we've realistically from the cattle industry been working on relationships and information gathering about since later last summer even. And definitely it is a significant blow because we have the most integrated supply chain in the world, really, between Canada and the U.S. We think of a lot of cattle going south, but there's also a lot of cattle that come north out of the U.S. that are feedlotted in Canada. That level of integration can't be overlooked. It's only going to hurt both sides, really.
Well, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for taking some time to chat now, and all the best.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Matthew Atkinson is president of the Manitoba Beef Producers.
What's new in news? How about a streaming channel from CBC that goes beyond the news? Get the big picture with a closer look at everything from dating to music to crime in the new series Big. Discover daily conversations about the questions we're all asking on About That with Andrew Chang. And for all the fascinating things on Earth, watch Planet Wonder. CBC News Explore. Available free on CBC Gem and CBC News app.
You're listening to Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM. I'm Corey Funk, and still to come, just ahead here, he went to return a book and ended up refueling the new Black Hawk helicopter that patrols the border. We'll hear his story coming up shortly. But first, let's take a look at your current conditions across the province this afternoon. Right now in Brandon at the airport, it is partly cloudy, minus 15, a nice reprieve from what has been the last few days here. Churchill at the airport, ice crystals, minus 19. Dauphin at the airport, minus 18 right now. Flin Flon, mostly cloudy, minus 20. Gillam, light snow right now for you, minus 23. Island Lake, you are sunny right now and minus 24. Hotspot in the province is Melita. This afternoon, you are minus 13. Portage is some drifting snow right now. You're sitting at minus 17. Cold spot in the province is Dooley Lake, sitting at minus 28. The Pas is mostly cloudy right now, sitting at minus 21. Thompson, mainly sunny, minus 25. And Winnipeg at the Forks, minus 17. Well, a new Black Hawk helicopter began patrolling the Manitoba-U.S. border this weekend. It's part of the federal government's $1.3 billion upgrade to border security and monitoring in response to Trump's tariff threat. And as an aviation enthusiast living between Winkler and Morden, Chris Onra was excited to see it up in the skies near his community, but he didn't think he'd get to see it up close and even lend its RCMP operators a hand. He told me his story earlier today.
Yeah, so late Sunday afternoon, my wife and I and two of our boys went to the airport. I needed to drop off a book. I'm a fairly active member of the flying club there, and I had borrowed the book from someone, so I was just going to drop it off. And we're driving into the airport, and I heard this. I heard the beating of the rotor, and looked over my shoulder, and there was this big black helicopter bearing down on me. So it kind of felt like a scene out of a movie, because these things are pretty big and pretty loud, and we normally wouldn't see something like that in our area. And these things are commonplace throughout a lot of parts of the world, but here it was a little abnormal. And I was pulled in to the airport, to the airport terminal building. It hovered in and positioned itself in front of the fuel tank. And I saw Government of Canada, RCMP, and right away I'd seen the news articles about these things coming and being deployed. And right away I put two and two together. Oh, these guys are here for fuel. And so being a member of the flying club, I can help transiting pilots fuel up. And so I got out, and three commandos jumped out of this helicopter and walked up to me with big guns in hand. And I said, hey, would you guys like some fuel? And they said, absolutely. So it was a very cold day, and we went into the terminal building, and I got them started with the fueling procedure.
Oh, so you actually got to help fuel up the helicopter. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, we provide that as a service for planes that are transiting across the country. Our location is pretty strategic for small aircraft that will be transiting from east to west. And we fill up helicopters like this in spring and fall when the firefighting crews are transiting from BC to Quebec. And so usually we'll be fueling the white and red firefighting helicopters a few times a year as well.
And what was it like for your wife and kids as well, who were along with you?
Well, I mean, this is the small town, rural Manitoba, so this is a pretty thrilling day. You don't see this every day, and being an aviation freak like I am, anything that flies under its own power is exciting. So
I actually understand you actually got to go take some pictures inside the helicopter. Did your kids got to sit in there too?
My boys did. They went and sat in it, but it was so unbelievably cold that they were in there for a couple of minutes and they came right back in. So it was a really cold day.
Well, I imagine like the blades of the helicopter must not help with making things feel even colder than it is.
Yeah. And the thing about these Black Hawk helicopters, they are different than your ordinary Bell 412, because these things have 5 monstrous blades on them, and they beat the air with such authority that you can hear them from miles away. This effort of what they're doing is that visible presence, right? And so you can see and hear this thing from a very far distance away. So it's a deterrent as much as it is actual control. And I guess for me, being interested in geopolitics, it was interesting as well, because I got to visit with these guys, these commando special forces unit guys. Like they were like straight out of a movie, SEAL Team 6, the ultimate specimen kind of material, and with all the gear and all the guns and all the vests and everything. And I could just chat with them at my leisure for close to an hour.
Wow.
And there was almost no question they wouldn't answer, and it was great. And so we talked about some of the politics of it. We talked about some of the logistics of what they're doing and why and how they work with, the U.S., their U.S. counterparts. And it was fascinating for me from a geopolitical perspective, and especially with, The news of the family that froze to death a few years ago, with that being back in the news again recently. That's the kind of thing, unfortunately, we see close to the border sometimes, and we don't want to. So having these guys out here to look for that kind of activity is awesome.
And from chatting with them, does it seem like the helicopter will be making frequent stops at the Morden Airport?
Yeah. They said they would be in frequently. They were quite pleased that we could help them out with fuel, and we've got a nice warm building for them to come in and warm up in. That helicopter is not warm, so this was, I think, it was a welcome stop for them. We have a courtesy car that we offer to transient pilots to get around if they want to go for a meal or something. So I was able to help them out in the future if they need that sort of thing. So our airport is it's also a little bit coincidental maybe, because we just had a meeting last week, and I'm on a steering committee for a regional airport, which we think is essential to southern Manitoba for both business and public safety. And so this was yet another compelling reason why this is an important topic of discussion, because we need to have aviation services in the southern part of the province to serve this kind of thing. So,
and as a flight enthusiast, obviously you're excited to see this helicopter. But even just as a resident, southern Manitoba, you live between Morden and Winkler. How do you feel about there being more things like this Black Hawk helicopter helping to patrol the border?
Well, I think it's great. I've worked in the agricultural industry my entire career, and farmland butts up against the border. And I've seen many, many times in my travels going out to look at different pieces of land, you can see these well-worn paths, footpaths going across the border, or from quads or vehicles or whatever. And so you know that there's illegal cross-border activity happening. It's more than likely nefarious in nature, where it's either drugs or people or guns or something that's being smuggled, and it all happens sort of outside of the public eye. And it's unfortunately only the big news stories that we hear about in the media. But if you go and drive along some of the paths that parallel the border, you'll see where people are crossing. So it's happening on a daily basis. It's happening enough that these paths are well worn. And that's something that these guys are going to help us out with. So,
well, Chris, thanks so much for joining us today on Radio Noon. Really appreciate your time, and all the best.
All right, thank you very much.
Chris Unruh lives between Winkler and Morden. To see his pictures of the helicopter, check out our Radio Noon YouTube stream on the CBC Manitoba YouTube page. 12:21 right now here on Radio Noon, and we've all seen it, a young person standing in frigid weather with their jacket open, if they're even wearing one, yet they seem impervious to the cold. So how do they do it, and why? CBC's Jim Agapito hit the mall to talk to high school students in their lunch break.
Are you cold right now?
Oh, yes, I'm freezing.
Your jacket's open, though. Can you tell me why it isn't done up?
I was too cold to zip it up, so I just hid my hands.
Ethan.
What grade are you in?
12. I'm just wearing the sweaters, shoes, and cargo pants.
So runners, no jacket. Are you cold right now?
No.
You're not cold? How come?
I don't know. I don't get cold easily.
Can you tell me what you're wearing right now?
A coat and regular clothes, so.
I see that you're not wearing gloves. Any reason why that was a choice?
I don't know. I just couldn't find any.
Okay, I gotta ask. An older generation thinks sometimes younger people like yourself are always ill-prepared and not dressed for the weather. You're laughing. What do you say to that?
Yeah, there's a lot of times when I was younger, I was always ill-prepared. But now that I'm getting older, I've started to realize that I need to be more prepared. I used to leave the house without a jacket and just wear a hoodie in the winter time, and now I start to feel the cold a lot more. So I've started to come a little bit more prepared, but it's still lacking in some response.
It's true, honestly. It's true. It's mostly true, I'm going to be honest.
Now, how well do you think you're prepared for this weather?
I would say I'm probably like a 7.5 out of a 10, really. I'm not fully there. If I was, I'd be in like pants and scarves and all buttoned up even more.
You're wearing a hoodie. You're not cold?
No.
As a student, what's it like then going to school in this kind of weather?
It's a workout, and also I kind of walk as fast as I can to get to and from school because I don't want to be in this weather at all.
What do your parents say about the way that you're dressed for this weather?
Sometimes my mom isn't very proud of it because I've been wearing vests because I couldn't find my jacket, but this week I found my jacket, so she wasn't fond of me wearing vests. That wasn't great.
You wore vests in this cold weather.
Yeah, no, I don't know how I did it either.
Any regrets?
Very much regrets. It was too cold. I got frostbite on my hands, so.
What do your parents say when you leave the house like this?
My parents hate it. They're like, why don't you wear a jacket? I'm like, I don't want to wear a jacket.
Will you change what you're wearing for the next couple of days?
No, probably not.
Why is that?
I'm too lazy.
I remember when I was in high school, I went for a walk with my girlfriend in -30, and we held hands with no mitts on for about 10, 15 minutes or so. And we both came back, and we had that we were like clearly in love. But we came back, and our fingers were froze, and I had that kind of like when it starts to thaw, and it really, really hurts. But such a high school move. But we are married now. She's not my wife, so clearly it all worked out. That is high school students talking with CBC's Jim Agapito about dressing or not for cold weather.
CBC Music Live. Head into the big venues, intimate concert halls, and small stages. Celebrate live music the way it was meant to be. Share in an unmistakable energy of being shoulder to shoulder with music fans and face to face with some of Canada's best musicians.
It's such an honor and a pleasure to play here.
CBC Music Live, brand new season. And catch past episodes right now on CBC Gem.
12:25 right now. We got time for a bit of music. Daniel Monkman grew up on the banks of the Red River here in Manitoba, and they would often marvel at its power. And it turned out that they turned that marvel into a song with their duo Ombigazé. It's called Zibi, the Anishinaabe word for river. And you're hearing it here on CBC Radio 1.
Upside, downside.
That's Bigaze with ZB here on CBC Radio 1. Well, stay tuned. Still to come in the next 5 minutes or so. It's our call-in conversation. And man, oh man, the roads are rough out there. Weather has not been kind to us Manitobans over the past week or so. But we are quite known to be kind to each other. And that's why we are opening up the listener lines to hear your stories about how either you helped someone or someone helped you dig yourself out of a tough situation on the roads. I'm sure we've all got those stories here and there. So we're opening up the listener lines, 204-780-0893. That's 204-780-0893. We're going to hear your stories after your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. At 12:30, we're at minus 17 with mostly sunny skies over downtown Winnipeg. Good afternoon, I'm Matt Humphrey. Winnipeg police say a 23-year-old man dodged serious injuries after being attacked during an argument over rent. This morning around 8:30, police were called to Syracuse Crescent in the Fort Garry neighborhood. As the 23-year-old was getting ready to leave his home, a 49-year-old caretaker of the building confronted him about the rent. The argument escalated, and the older man attacked the younger with a machete. The victim managed to get away with minor injuries. The older man lives in the same building. He was taken into custody and charged with assault. U.S. President Donald Trump is moving quickly to end diversity, equality, and inclusion programs created under the Biden administration. Trump has called the programs, quote, discrimination, and insisted on restoring, quote, merit-based hiring. But civil rights advocates argue DEI programs are necessary to address long-standing inequities and systemic racism. Chris Reyes explains.
All traces of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs have already been deleted from U.S. federal websites. The president has directed all federal employees in DEI roles to be placed on paid leave by tonight. Trump is also putting federal agencies on deadline to come up with a plan for firing those employees by January 31st. All DEI-related offices will shut down. Mark Morial is the president of the National Urban League, and he's calling on his fellow members to push back.
It's reprehensible. It is nothing but an effort to repeal the progress that this nation has made over the last 60 years, and it has to be resisted.
Trump's executive order undoes many of President Biden's initiatives to promote inclusion within the government, including signing an executive order to assess any systemic barriers to diversity. Chris Reyes, CBC News, Washington.
And now early estimates are suggesting 24 million American homes watch this week's coverage of Donald Trump's inauguration. And the Nielsen Company says that's the lowest inaugural day audience since 2013, when Barack Obama was sworn in for the second time. The Fox News Network is saying its coverage won the day, with more than twice as many viewers watching Fox than any other network. And speaking of TV, Netflix is about to get more expensive for Canadians. The cost of its cheapest plan, which includes commercials, will rise by about $2 to $7.99 a month. Ad-free streaming, which will increase, is increasing by $2.50 to $18.99, $18.99. And while the Netflix premium plan, meanwhile, jumps $3 to $23.99. The new prices take effect immediately for new subscribers, while existing members will see the change on their next bill. And that's your CBC News from Winnipeg.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Back soon.
That is Matt Humphrey at our CBC News desk. Welcome back to Radio Noon. I'm Corey Funk. And just ahead, we are going to be opening up our phone lines to talk about your stories. We want to hear from you. Have you been helped maybe out of a snowbank or out of a tricky situation on the roads, or maybe you helped someone else? Give us a call. Share your Good Samaritan road stories. 204-780-0893. That's 204-780-0893. Our phone lines are open. But before we get to your stories, we also have Riley Lachuk in with us to tell us a little about the weather, which has not been great for the roads today.
No.
But yeah.
Another rough go at it.
Yes.
Last night.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. I mean, not as bad as last Friday was for sure, but certainly still some pockets of zero visibility through the afternoon hours yesterday. Winds have started to die off a little bit across the south. I'll get into that in a moment. Minus 16 in Winnipeg at the moment. It's minus 15 in Brandon, Thompson, minus 25. Temperatures will drop a bit as we get through into the afternoon hours today, thanks to that gusty north and northwesterly wind out there at the moment. So right now, Winnipeg wind sustained at 26, sustained at 30 to 40 across much of the rest of the Red River Valley, which is helping drive some of those temperatures down. Back to the west, though, places like Brandon, Dauphin seeing north wind sustained at about 10 right now. So not much of a wind back to the west. And that's the trend that we're getting into, is that wind lightening up as we get through the afternoon hours today. Mostly sunny skies, a few clouds still hanging around out there. So predominantly sun, but some cloud, particularly in extreme southern Manitoba, still seeing the remnants of some of that cloud from yesterday still hanging around. Today remains mostly sunny. Tomorrow, rinse and repeat, mostly sunny and below seasonal once again. So the wind, really not much of a factor tomorrow. Once we get into the later part of Thursday into Friday, though, we start to see a change. And with this comes some flurries as we get into the morning hours on Friday. For most of us across really the entire province, getting some flurries into Friday. But what this signals is a real shift in our pattern back toward above seasonal and sustaining above seasonal temperatures as we get through the long range.
That must feel
forecast.
good for you to just let out into the world.
Just give it a couple of days. I know Friday we're looking at some flurries, so maybe a bit messy, but once we get through into the weekend, we are certainly looking at much warmer conditions. Out of that, maybe we pick up a couple centimeters of snow by this time on Friday, but really not looking at much more than a dusting. Temperature falls to minus 19 in Winnipeg this afternoon, minus 19 again tomorrow. But then minus 4 for Friday, minus 9 for Saturday, minus 7 for Sunday, minus 6 for Monday.
You must be looking forward to being the good guy again for a little while.
Sigh of relief.
Everyone's usually like, oh, that Riley Laychuk. Well, thank you very much, Riley.
You're welcome.
That is Riley Laychuk, our CBC weather specialist. Well, time now for our call-in conversation. As I've been talking about, those roads are nasty out there. Hopefully, you're driving slowly and safely right now, because this wild weather conditions are causing collisions, stalls, slides into snowbanks all over the place. It was pandemonium on the traffic line this morning when I was on information radio. Holy smokes. But sometimes a good Samaritan does step in to help. Maybe a boost, maybe a push out of a snowbank, or maybe a phone to call for help. We want to hear how you've been helped out of a sticky, snowy situation on the roads. Call us with your thoughts and your stories. 204-780-0893. That's 204-780-0893. You can also text us at 204-588-7355. That's 204-588-7355. Joining us now is Tara Seal. She is the media and public relations lead at MPI. Hi there, Tara.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So I got to ask, do you have a story that stands out for you? You know, of something, a sticky situation you helped get out of on the road?
Well, as a true Manitoban, there's been lots of them. But one that sticks out for me is that when I was younger, my dad and I were in the car and we were traveling down the highway to the cottage. And he did see someone who was kind of stuck on the side of the road. He'd got a little bit in the ditch. So even with me in the car, he stopped and he was able to help that person get out of the ditch and make sure that they were safe. So I experienced that from a very young age, and actually even experienced it just yesterday. I was with a group of people, and one of their vehicles got stuck, and sure enough, someone came along and was able to hook up a tow line and get them out. So I do think that as Manitobans, we're kind of used to helping others who get kind of stuck in the snow and icy conditions.
Yeah, certainly it's a pay it forward kind of thing, right? I'm sure everyone who's had it happen to them feels like, okay, now it's my turn to pay it forward too. Certainly. If Tara's story resonated with you, give us a call, 204-780-0893. Share your story. That's 204-780-0893. So I imagine there's probably some people listening on the highways even today or on the roads and are wondering, what do I even do if my car is stalled or on the road or on a highway? Maybe there isn't that immediate help. Well, what's your advice?
Yeah, so that would be a very scary situation, and I can appreciate that people would be looking for some assistance. Now, depending on the type of conditions there are, I really think that you need to be prepared to be roadside for some time, because first responders might not be able to get to you right away, right? So you want to make sure that you have a solid emergency kit in your vehicle. So you want to make sure you have warm clothing. You want to make sure that you have a shovel so that you're able to make sure that your exhaust is clear. You want to make sure that you have a fully charged cell phone before you head out on the road so you're able to reach somebody. Food, some power bars, things like that is always a good idea, and some water in case you're stuck there for a little bit. Emergency blankets you can get for a very affordable price, and they do help trap the heat. So those are also something that I would recommend keeping in your vehicle if you're going to be out on the roadways.
Also very handy. Also, my Guido gave me, my grandpa, he gave me something. It holds your booster cables, but it's actually on it. It's like a circular holding bag, but the bag itself says help. So it's nice. You can hold it, put it on the back of your car, hold it up, and literally, so it's not just like people aren't wondering like, do they need help? Do they not? You could just literally say, I need help. So that's actually
a great idea.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty brilliant. So we actually have that in the back of our car during the winter times. Actually, if while we're sharing stories here, May McKillop, our studio technician, has her story as well. Hi, May.
I have a story because I want to give a shout out to the person who helped me on Monday when I left work. My car wouldn't start. I parked downtown and I didn't have my cables because I had helped someone the day before on Sunday. And luckily I had backed into the parking spot, but I didn't know what to do. And I noticed someone across the street in the same predicament that I was in. So I ran over and said, hey, can I get in the lineup? And they were so kind and came and helped me out.
Oh, really?
So thank you. If you're listening out there, that was me, and thank you for that.
Man, so many wonderful stories like that, eh? People just stepping up. I love that. Thank you very much, May. Be like May. Give us a call, 204-780-0893. That's 204-780-0893. I know I've got a few stories myself. I was in Riding Mountain National Park during wintertime. A friend and I drove up from Brandon. We were going to go cross-country skiing in the backcountry for the day. And we parked our car on the side of the road, but I guess our wheels were kind of on the ditch in the softer snow. So we went for our ski, came back, went to leave. We couldn't get out. We were like, well, what do we do? But luckily, there happened to be, so luckily, two women who were also skiing. And they had a Hummer, a big yellow Hummer. They happened to get out at the same time as us. And they, sure enough, were like, oh, they saw a poor two of us guys with one tiny shovel. All we had was one little shovel trying to shovel ourselves out, not working at all. So they're like, we'll just pull you out. So they just pulled us out with their Hummer. And we are eternally grateful, or else I may still be somewhere in Riding Mountain to this day. So thanks for that. 204-780-0893 if you want to share your story on our studio line. Also, winter tires play a big part in preventing this from happening. Do you know what does MPI actually have on offer to incentivize people to get winter tires?
Yeah, you're right. We can't overstate how important winter tires are to road safety. So MPI truly believes that winter tires can make a big difference in keeping people safe on the road. So we also want to make them as affordable as possible, because we realize a barrier to getting winter tires is often the cost. So we have a winter tire program, and this program offers low interest financing of up to $2,000 per vehicle to eligible individuals. So you can apply through the MPI Service Center. You can apply through your local approved tire retailer. So it's pretty easy to get started, right? So we recommend that people take advantage of this program. So far to date, we launched in 2014, and we've provided close to 250,000 loans to people in Manitoba to purchase winter tires for their vehicles. So these are, 250,000 vehicles that now have, that added layer of safety when they're out on icy and snowy road conditions.
I also know on Friday, MPI reported that there were at least, get this, 511 collisions on Friday, because I know that blizzard really did a number on the highways.
I can update that number for you.
Oh, really? Okay.
725 now claims that have come in.
Oh, 725?
Yeah, claims will keep coming in as the days go forward. So it started at 511 the first day after, and now we're up to 725.
How unusual of a number is that? Like, obviously, we get blizzards every winter, but it seemed like, working in the news, and it's tough to know. It seemed like there was quite the concentration of incidents that day. Is that like is it unprecedented? Like, how does that stand in terms of a winter event like that?
I don't know about unprecedented. I don't have historical numbers handy, but I mean, it's certainly very high. So, lots of people were affected by the blizzard, and, tow trucks were busy. Our lot where there's damaged vehicles is pretty crowded. It was a pretty catastrophic event on Friday there with the blizzard. A lot of people were affected for sure.
And has there been a day with that many claims in recent years?
I can't say, and it really is so to say that because people report their collisions at different times.
Right.
So like people might be reporting really quickly this time, whereas previously we might have got more reporting, a week down the road. So it really is hard to compare, but I can tell you, yes, this number is very high.
Wow. Before I let you go here, I mean, any other just tips, tricks for folks before they do hit the highways?
Yeah, I think it's very important to be aware that over half of our collision claims occur in the winter months. So from November 1st to the end of February. And one of the biggest contributing factors to that is speed. So we would ask everybody to slow down. Unless road conditions are ideal, the speed limit is too fast. So you want to make sure that you slow down, drive for the conditions. You also want to make sure that you're doing things gradually, right? You want to slow down gradually, stop gradually, turn gradually to allow yourself time to adjust if you do hit some ice. So you want to make sure you do that. Increase your stopping distance because you can reduce your risk of force of crash if you have bigger distance between you and the vehicle in front of you in case you do hit ice and aren't able to stop immediately.
Well, Tara, go ahead.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
I have lots, right? But yeah,
clearly we can use it.
Slow down.
Okay. Well, Tara, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
Tara Seal is the Media and Public Relations Lead at MPI.
Thought I'd seen enough, now I find I've a bird's eye view of my life. Thought I better come down, now I know about the crabs in the barrel, snakes with their idols. So I go on, grab another rung, upward moving, set up to stop. I'm a climber and a fast one too fast to get dragged down by you. Thought I was unrehearsed, now I see. Off cuff, it's easier to roll my sleeves. Thought I better cool off, now I lay more tinder to burn and jello the flames. So I go on, feeling the pit, getting second opinions and I don't quit. If I bite off more than is polite, call me sharp tongue, all jaws, I'm getting my slice. big mouth matured, my taste buds are bolder. So I go on dashing night, can't get to the pepper without a good crack. If I'm testy, honey, I'm free. It's my plate, my life, let me be. Thought I'd seen enough, now I find I've a bird's eye view of my life.
That's Lady of the Red, aka Lara Music. She is a Winnipeg singer-songwriter, and that was her performing her song Cracked Pepper. 12:49 right now on a Radio Noon. And when it comes to what climate actions individuals can take, we often hear about electric vehicles or home heating, but the solutions don't always work for everyone, especially depending on where you live. It's something CBC's Climate Solutions show, What on Earth, is diving into after a listener from a rural community here in Manitoba reached out. With about 20% of Canadians living in rural, remote, Indigenous, or northern communities, Rachel Sanders takes a look at what big climate action small towns are taking.
Across Canada, small communities are working on climate solutions, and those solutions are also bringing people together. Murnum, Alberta is one example. It's a village of a few hundred people about 200 kilometers east of Edmonton. People there have taken on a number of climate projects lately, and the people doing a lot of the work are teenagers.
We went to Village Council, gave them a proposal about how we could lower energy consumption in that building.
That's Eddie Balish-Dak. He's 13 years old and part of the Net Zero team at New Murnum School. That building he's talking about, it's the village's Career and Technology Education Center, aka the CTEC. Eddie and his schoolmates did an energy audit on the building, and then they spent months applying for grants. They used that grant money to put timers on the building's heating system to conserve power. Finally, they installed solar panels in the parking lot.
I knew that the CTEC was costing the village a lot of money, and I wanted to do something to help them.
That's 15-year-old Sydney Chinasek. She's on the Net Zero team too. She says young people can help with climate solutions in small communities.
The way we were able to use our school time and apply the knowledge we were learning in school to a real project that was actually helping our community.
Eddie and Sydney say in small towns, one passionate person can get big projects off the ground. In Murnum, that person is their teacher, Robert Timofeychuk, also known as Mr. T.
That is who Mr. T is for us. He comes up with these insane projects that don't even seem like they have a solution, and then somehow we end up making it happen.
As for Mr. T, he wants to help his students become the next generation of climate leaders.
These are our young people that are leaders. The future is with them.
When it comes to climate action, small communities also need to lean into their strengths. The Upper Nicola Band is a few kilometers east of Merritt in the interior of British Columbia. Chief Dan Manuel says people there see climate change up close. They've felt the effects of wildfires and floods, and drought has put pressure on their water and food security.
We do have community members that are living smack dab in the middle of all this, right?
Chief Manuel says that's why his people want to act. He says they're playing to one of their community's biggest strengths: location, location, location. One of BC's largest electrical substations is in its territory. That means the band can generate clean electricity and sell it to the province's electrical grid.
We had a unique opportunity to take our aspirations around climate change and green energy into real on-the-ground solutions.
One of those solutions is a solar project. It'll produce enough electricity to power almost 5,000 homes. It won't directly power the homes of the people who live there, but it will help BC decarbonize its electricity grid. Chief Manuel says it will strengthen his community too. Revenue from the solar farm will go towards programs for his people.
things like language and culture, things like education, housing.
Chief Manuel says small communities can have an impact.
There are no small contributions in this fight. Every little piece is going to matter.
Other small towns are getting into clean energy too. Balleen, Newfoundland is one of them. It's a town of nearly 500 people on a journey towards being powered by solar. That's the long-term goal, but in the meantime, town councillor Heidi Kolodniski is always wondering,
What can we do tomorrow? Boots on the ground, shovels ready.
Balleen created a food rescue program staffed by volunteers. The town is also working to conserve some of its carbon-storing wetlands. And then there's
Composting, the town's newly up and running, municipally operated community composting site.
She says the composting program prevents around 1/3 of Balleen's organic waste from being converted into methane. Heidi says climate action can bring people together, and she thinks anyone concerned about climate should get into politics. Sometimes that's easier in small towns.
One person absolutely can shift a narrative on a council.
Heidi says spending time and energy on climate action makes a difference, in more ways than one.
Gathering others alongside you, it's significant. It's had a profound impact on my mental health. It changed my behavior, and it's helping change my mind, and I hope others as well.
A few lessons we can take from small Canadian towns taking big climate action. Involve youth, capitalize on strengths, and take small steps. For CBC Radio, I'm Rachel Sanders.
Thank you very much, Rachel. 12:55 right now on Radio Noon.
Canada, you have questions.
I intend to resign as Prime Minister.
Let's talk about them.
There are real consequences.
I do think it would help to have a little bit more money.
They should be a state.
Canada Tonight. Watch on CBC News Network and CBC Gem.
Well, 12:55, and still to come here on the show, Faith Fundell will be joining us shortly. And what's great is that they are actually going to be at U of M today for a live show. Hi there, Faith.
That's very, very good stretching of time after I did not pay attention to what time it was, and I was standing outside the studio. You are right, Corey Funk. Up to Speed is live at the University of Manitoba at the UMSU University Center Fireside Lounge. We're going to introduce you to some students, some Gen Z students. We're going to speak with a writer, researcher, teacher, and flautist. And we're also going to hear more about what economic reconciliation means for one University of Manitoba business student and why it's been a big focus for him and his work. So lots to come.
Sounds like fun. Thanks, Faith.
Also,
ooh,
coffee and donuts.
Yes.
So if you show up, we have coffee and donuts as well.
Okay, very exciting. Thank you very much, Faith.
Thank you.
That's Faith Fundell. They're hosting Up to Speed this afternoon from 3 to 6, live from U of M. Well, big thank you to everyone who helped put together today's show. May McKillop, Sierra Sanders, Wendy Parker, and Kevin Nipatebo, and Chin Kai Chang, making us look wonderful on YouTube. Big thank you to all of you. I'm Corey Funk, and whatever you find yourself doing on this Wednesday afternoon, hope you find yourself doing something you love with the people you love. Coming up on CBC Radio 1, Bookends. Have a good one.